everyone. I'm Liz Hunt.
And I'm Chelsea Poppins.
And this is the Agency Rocket Show, where we talk about the chaos of running a creative agency. So today we have a guest on the show who is one of the best that we've ever worked with, I would say. His name is Cameron Ramaekers. He is the owner and founder of a company called Open Caret. And we've been working with him for, half dozen years, I think, I would say, at least. He's local to our community. And he is a web developer extraordinaire.
Wizard.
WordPress wizard. All things coding, as far as I'm concerned. And also a friend, I would say. We've definitely had great conversations over the years. Welcome to the show, Cam.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks for that awesome intro. Liz often oversells me in meetings as well and tells clients that I can do way more than what I really know how to do. But that's what we love about her.
I would never
right?
do that.
No, nice
I would never do that.
In my mind, you can do everything too. So you've never proven us wrong.
It's your own fault, Cameron. You figure it out. So then we just think that you can.
Fake it till you make it. That's what we always say.
That's true. That's true.
But thank you.
Yeah. Well, Cameron, can you give us a little bit of your background? I know from your perspective of maybe how you got into web development and how you got started with DayCloud. That would be really interesting for me. I've never heard the story.
Sure. Yeah. So my professional career started as a developer working for a larger marketing agency here in Nebraska, right out of college, and really liked the agency world, but kind of always had this dream of maybe someday being my own boss, doing my own thing. And so I always did the evening and weekend freelance, moonlighting, if you will. After about 2 years working in the agency world and doing that, the side business just grew and grew. And I kind of had to make a decision. At the time, I was single, well, not married, but no kids. I thought, you know what, if I'm going to try it, at least if I fail, it's just me.
YOLO.
So that's
YOLO.
when I,
Wait, Chelsea, did you just say YOLO?
YOLO.
I haven't heard somebody say that in so long.
People are going to be like, she's kind of chuggy.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, I said YOLO and went for it. And so that was in 2015. And I think it was a colleague of mine from that last job that introduced us, Liz. And I wandered into your office like a little lost puppy, probably. And you had some work for me. And I think it was probably like, oh, let's try this kid. And it went well. And that's kind of how we got going. And since then, I've obviously done a lot of work with you two and, some other agencies and some direct to client work and just kind of all around the board and done whatever I can to keep myself busy and keep this dream alive. It's been 9 years. Next year will be a 10-year anniversary. So that's kind of wild.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations, Cam. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That is very exciting. I mean, I've only seen you in this space, not the puppy dog coming into DayCloud. But that's crazy.
Who do you like working for more? Like me, of course, I know that. But
she's like leading into the answer. She's like,
I know I'm your favorite. But when it comes to like working directly with clients or working with agencies, what are some of the pros and cons that you kind of work through?
Great question. Blanket level, I'd say the agency is a better process most of the time because agencies kind of know exactly what I do and where my role begins and ends. And generally they already have a process that I can just kind of like flow into. And at the end of the day, I don't have to be part of a ton of client calls. You guys always joke with me that I hate meetings. And while that's kind of true, it's more so I love being productive with the time and working with an agency. That's a little bit easier for me to be is that productive. That said, one of the reasons I wanted to go off on my own is because at the agency I was at, I was mostly just writing code. I would maybe get to go into a meeting or two, meet the client, see their reaction to stuff. But it's fun for me to see the full process and get to like see the clients be happy with the work that I've done or that we've done.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I still like working directly with certain clients and kind of taking it from start to finish.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say you're one of the most personable developers I've ever met. Which makes sense to me that you would be able to go off and start your own company because you are able to have great conversations and build relationships and be your own salesman, but also do the work and do a really great job at that too. And so I think that's why we've gotten on so well. I mean, obviously, because you as a human are very easy to get along with, but also you do great work. So yeah, I can see that.
I concur. You're very intuitive. Sometimes I expect developers to be, they just want to be behind the scenes and kind of like be introverted, but you're a good mix of it because even when you're talking to clients, I've noticed that you are constantly seeing from their perspective. And the way you talk, you're like, I know you didn't bring this up, but I'm going to bring this up proactively.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I think that is the reason I've been able to stay busy and successful doing this is I do enjoy that part of it. And I think clients and agencies appreciate that too, because you're not having to talk to someone who then tells me what to do. It's just a direct line. And that helps us both, quite honestly. So that's, it's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. It's very, very true.
And I love our internal conversations because we'll be like, we want to do this. And you're like, well, I kind of want to push back on this because I don't think this is possible.
Like, those are our dreams. And I'm like, no.
But you do it in a gentle way. You're like, that's kind of a hard no. But
Well,
I always try to present an alternative, right? That's like, you could do this for half the time, half the cost, and keep everyone happy. That's usually where I try to get us.
That's my favorite thing. And that's why we continue to work together and why I love working with you is one of the core values at DayCloud is that we are solutionaries. We don't come to the table with problems ever. We come to the table with solutions always, right? Mm-hmm. We don't ever come to clients or our teammates with like, hey, this is a problem. We come to the table with, hey, here's the problem, but here's a solution that I already came up with, and here's how we're going to fix it. And that's what you do, because that's what we expect our team to do. So that's what I love.
From your perspective, since you've been doing this for so long, how has web development changed since you began?
Oh, man. Every day, it seems like there's new ways to build websites. You know, we've all seen Super Bowl ads for Squarespace, and GoDaddy a while ago was all about their web builder, which was rough. But I think that's the biggest change I've seen is there's a lot of different options now. And so when a client or a person wants to have a website, technically, some of them think they can go do it. And that advertising has led them to believe they can go do it. And I think that's one of the things I've had to get better at is explaining the difference between what we do versus what you're able to go do on your own if you want to take that route. Another big thing I've seen in the last couple of years, especially, has been such a focus on how fast everything works and loads and how fast someone can get through your site because people's attention spans with TikTok and other reasons are super short. So we've, I think, lately put a lot more thought into not only how fast a user can get through your site and get to that contact form or buy that product or whatever, but also just how quickly your site loads and how quickly it loads on their phone when they're not at home. And that's all stuff that's changed in the 10 years I've been doing this because it's just only gotten more mobile and you're competing more for people's time than ever before. Those are the two big ones. The other thing I think of is just how many other tools have to get integrated with the website now. It used to just kind of be a standalone piece of your marketing that you just kind of had this pretty website and it just looked nice and maybe got you some leads. But now we try to tie those websites into CRMs and even like some apps and other things that all has to work together for a cohesive marketing plan. And I think that's more common in the last few years or last 5 years than it was before.
Interesting. Yeah.
There's a lot more plugins out there for you to figure out how to work. Are there any features that have kind of gone out of style or that you would consider bad practice now that we're kind of in this futuristic space of web development?
Yeah. Every year kind of has its own trends and things come and go. The one that we always talk about that I'll bring up is the carousel. You know, everyone's seen the site with the big banner that scrolls through at the top of the screen. And people love that when they're trying to get a lot of information out there. But users of websites hate that because they don't actually click through it and read it. So that's a big feature that we've pushed away from more recently. And then just anything that is unexpected for a user. So for a few years, maybe even like last couple of years, animation has been huge, and everyone liked a site that had a ton of motion and things moving around and flying
like
through.
Parallax effects and stuff.
Yeah, where things kind of scroll like at different rates. And I've seen some of that die off a little bit in favor of a faster experience or a more simple experience for a user. We use like what I'd call like micro animations or really subtle animation, but we don't want it to look like a PowerPoint from 2005. So that's kind of like...
I mean, maybe I still do a little. No, I'm kidding.
Well, to each their own, Liz. To each their own. You asked me what I thought. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's great. Yeah. I mean, it's super true. I've been building websites more than a decade too. And even some of those things sometimes they're kind of subtle. That parallax effect, it came and went. It was here for a hot second and then it was done. And then we're all over it. It's interesting.
Trends come and go. It's like fashion or homes or whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, like in preparing for today, I was like, what are some 2024 trends? Maybe I should read up on these. And the word skeuomorphism came up, which is a design term for when things on a screen look like the real life example. So like if you remember when iPhones came out and all the buttons on your iPhone looked like the real thing, like the note looked like a yellow piece of paper. That's skeuomorphism. And that went away and it was really simple and clean. And apparently that's a trend for 2024 is that feeling of skeuomorphism is going to come back. So we'll see.
Okay.
Have you had any?
That's more of a design thing, but
have you had any clients request that?
Not yet. No.
Well, you're about to because I'm going to start implementing it.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's do it.
So this is probably a deeper question, but how did you ever get to the point where you felt inspired to go down the web development path? Like, I want to learn coding, or was it MySpace where you were like started coding on MySpace and it just got deeper on it?
I definitely slapped in that HTML so that I could have like
on
just
MySpace?
the top 4 instead of, I mean, we all did. Come on, we were all there. And
I mean, I didn't HTML my MySpace. Oh my God.
You didn't?
Cameron. I thought you had to code it in order to get the music, in order to get the good theme background. That's how
That's right. I remember even like a little snippet you could put on your MySpace, like a little snippet of code, probably JavaScript or something. And it made it so people couldn't turn your music off because everyone's MySpace had a song. And I put a thing, I'm like, no, you're listening to this song when you're on my MySpace page.
So do you remember what song it was?
Oh,
that you like
probably
people?
Like some punk rock of some sort, like Hawthorne Heights.
You didn't have
like,
I don't know. Green Day on it.
Maybe Green Day, yeah. Probably something like that. Something really depressing that had nothing to do with my life at the time, but
I love it so much.
No, serious answer to your question, Chelsea. I mean, that was probably the first coding I did, but I just kind of always had the passion for creative anything. I used to make videos and edit video with my friends, and I was on the 8th grade news team in junior high, and then I was a high school newspaper designer and photographer, and did a little bit of like freelance photography. And then I was like, well, I've always kind of liked math, and that's the nerdy side of me coming out here, but web design or web development was just like a really good blending of the creative stuff that I always liked, and then I took a coding class in college, and I was like, oh, this makes sense, do this, and then it looks cool, and it just kind of clicked. And so I think the first aha moment was probably an internship. Like after my freshman year, I came back to Omaha and worked for a small web design agency and just loved it and didn't know very much, and kind of just he threw me into it. I have to give a shout out. David Sutter was the guy. He worked for a company called iGroup Creative, which is no longer a thing, but that's where it started for the actual website work. It was just the blending of those early on passions and then something realistic that could be a career.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I love that. I've never heard that side of you doing the photography.
I didn't know about
video
that either.
editing and all of that.
Yeah. We used to it's probably on YouTube if you go. I'm not going to tell you my old username because I don't want you to find it. But
if we go on your Facebook, is there a deep dive of random videos?
It's not on Facebook. This was pre-Facebook. So I used to record these music videos in our parents' basement with an old this was like a camera that you couldn't just like drag the file onto your computer. You had to like play it and record it onto the computer because it was like on a tape.
Oh my gosh.
We had to rewatch it while it uploaded. And then we made these music videos where we lip sync to, is that a lip sync? Is that the pass? I don't know. And okay, so we had like some popular songs.
I'm okay with saying we can make up our own words. Say it confidently. Say it with your chest.
Yeah,
lip sync. And we put them on YouTube. And because we have the band titles in the YouTube video, they got like thousands of views, and they were terrible.
Cameron was trending before trending was a thing.
This was pre getting paid for this, unfortunately.
Oh, you got to bring it back.
And I probably would have gotten sued, but yeah.
Cameron,
I'll show you sometime.
Do you ever think about the different lives you could have lived? You could be a lip syncer, or something down.
Lip syncer.
Yeah, I'm happy with the way things turned out. You don't want to see me then.
I absolutely do, actually.
I'll send you a link. I'll send you a private link.
Yes, please.
We're putting it in the show notes. You don't even know.
Anything to boost those views for you, I'm willing.
I'm also going to comment on your YouTube to be like, Cameron did a podcast about this. And then get all of your thousands of people.
Yes.
It'll be the first comment in like 15 or 20 years probably, but we'll take it.
It's going to go viral.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love it. That's amazing.
That is.
Good stuff. So what do you think are some things that running your own business now for almost 10 years, what are some things that have been surprising to you about making the move to business ownership versus working for someone else? What have been some of those lessons that you've learned over the years?
Good question. From a high level, the biggest lesson is how many different hats I've had to wear and be okay with wearing. I kind of thought, I'm just going to be a web designer, developer, and that's what I'm going to do. But I'm also an accountant, and I'm kind of do some digital marketing for myself.
Yeah.
And I have to understand taxes, and I have to understand payroll and sign up for QuickBooks and get all that figured out. And I have to submit quarterly reports and learn LLCs. And if you're going to go the path that I chose, which is there's different ways, obviously, to be self-employed, there's so much like admin behind the scenes work that I didn't anticipate. And looking back, I've had some other friends over the last few years that have wanted to go off and venture on their own, and they asked me for some advice. And when I start thinking about all the stuff I know now that I had no idea what it even was, it's kind of mind blowing, like how much you just organically have to learn or you're forced to learn. So that was a shock. And then I think just the thought of like people call their business their baby, which is an interesting term, but it makes sense because I'm very protective, probably to a fault, of the work I've done and my brand, if you will. And obviously, I'm just myself. I haven't grown and heightened one. And I think a big part of that is that unwillingness to let go. I used to think that was a good thing. Like I used to think I'm a perfectionist and everything I do is great. But I've learned that like maybe you need to be okay a little bit with letting someone else in and trusting other people more. So I've gotten better at that recently. But that was a lesson for sure.
Would you ever expand your team?
Yeah, tell me more, Cameron, because this is all news to me.
No.
And we're experiencing it live on our podcast.
Good. Right now, no. I get asked that all the time, multiple times a year, probably every month. And
I mean, we've talked about it a lot over the last decade.
Yeah. And I think right now, no, I'm happy with what I'm doing and I'm happy with the revenue it's generating and all that good stuff.
Right.
So I don't think I want to stir the pot. I'm open to that changing over the next 10 years or whatever as my family grows and life's priorities take over, and things are going to get different. But right now I'm kind of happy where I'm at and trying to stay in the present a little bit. So there's no big surprises to break on Agency Rocket Podcast, I'm afraid.
And you just had a baby. You just had a baby, or your wife just had a baby, but
year and a half ago. But it feels like
but
new,
you're still
it feels
in that
new still.
First kid. Well, the first year you're kind of in a fugue state of craziness.
So how has that been, having your own business and then growing your family, having another person to care for? How's that experience been? A little human.
It's been amazing. I got to give credit to my wife here because the only reason I think I can still run a business and be a dad is because she stepped back a little bit and she works part-time now and does a lot with our son. But I think the flexibility of self-employment is something that I've really taken advantage of with having a child. Not that I'm skipping out, but it's a lot easier to take an hour here to go upstairs and have breakfast with my son because I work from home. Yeah. And then I'll make up that hour at 10 p.m. at night when he's sleeping or whatever. That's been awesome. But at the same time, you do feel a new responsibility for not just me anymore. And it's not just me and my wife. It's a family. And I think that's why I'm glad I started this 9 years ago when I did. Like I mentioned earlier, there was less risk per se. Now I'm more confident that what I've got going is a little more proven. And so I'm not as nervous, but things change quick. So we'll see.
So you mentioned a little bit starting your business and then purposely choosing to not grow outside of just yourself. Talk to me a little bit more about that decision, because I mean, there's a lot of people that do that on purpose. And then obviously a lot of people like myself who are like, no, let's get more people on the book. So tell me a little bit more about intentionally staying singular as your own person in the business.
I think the biggest reason I made that decision is because my role is a pretty clear cut and dry. Like I get handed a design, I build out that design for a website, I pass it back and it launches. And we support them down the road and I answer questions beyond that. But the fact that the work that I do is kind of specific in that way, and it's I don't want to call it a niche because there's web development, it's a big industry, but I think that's what I love doing. And that's what fits in well with agencies like what we do. And so I haven't felt the need to, I guess I don't know who I'd hire. and maybe that's more the reason. I don't really need another developer. I don't really need a designer because I work with designers like you guys. And I don't need project managers because I work with people like you. So I don't have the desire to grow into that agency model. And I don't think adding another developer under my belt would necessarily make my business more productive right away or more profitable or whatever. I think, down the road, absolutely it would, but I'm finding it hard to get over that hump of when does it start adding to my bottom line, if you will, or when does bringing the team on actually like pay off? And I know there's a time period there where it's not, and that's probably what's holding me back.
But is it the training period? And because and you hold yourself to this high standard
versus projects.
Right. Yeah. I think I didn't go to school to be a business owner. Didn't ever think about running and growing a business. I thought about being creative and making enough money in my life to do that as a career. And so that's kind of the goal I've reached. And I think that's why I'm satisfied. I don't have this dream of becoming a big old business and I can just move away and collect the checks. That's not really what drives me. And so, buy an island. That sounds nice, actually. If we can do that, let's do it. But I think I'd be bored. My wife jokes, like, I don't sit still. I struggle to like sit and watch TV for more than an hour. I have to be doing something. And so I think being really busy and wearing all those hats that I mentioned earlier is what makes me happy. So that's, I see like myself doing that is the way to do it. I don't know. I don't want to pass off the work.
Do you miss having coworkers?
Yeah. I think in a sentence, yes, I miss having some coworkers every day to have fun with. But I also enjoy the fact that I don't have to answer to people and I can kind of set my day up how I want it to be. And if I need to be really productive, I'll put headphones on and do that. And if I have a little flexibility, I'll go for a walk or go work out or whatever. So there's a balance there. But meetings like we have and still getting out of the house and getting on a Zoom call, I still get to do that. So it's not like I'm completely siloed. But
luckily, you still go on the zoo trips and all of the DayCloud stuff. So
DayCloud's great about, I've said this before, not on a podcast, of DayCloud makes me feel like part of the team, and we go to the Christmas events and we go to the zoo, and that's amazing. And I do appreciate it because you do miss those things if you're self-employed, if you got to experience that before, which I did. And so props to you guys for bringing on, because I know you have other contractors that you do that with. And
we love you. So if you weren't awesome, you might not get invited.
True.
Well, if I stop getting the invite, I'll understand why.
You didn't make the cut this year.
That's right. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's all good.
I think I noticed when I went fully remote, my social capacity went down. And I was like, I need to socialize. I need to make some friends. I need to leave the house and do something.
Make some friends.
Like, it was so magical to be able to go to the Omaha office and be in a space with other people and see all of our people in there. So I get that.
It's a real thing.
Yeah. If you were to have any thoughts for someone who's thinking about getting into web development, what kind of advice would you offer them?
Do it.
Really?
No.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of work and there's not a need. So from a strictly like supply demand, I would say do it. But more honest advice, I guess I'd say is, I think it can be overwhelming that you feel like you have to know everything because there's so many technologies and so many platforms and different ways to do things. And I mentioned that earlier. Mm-hmm. And I think for a long time, I felt like I need to know all this and I almost not good enough if I don't know all this. And then over time, I've stayed busy enough doing what I do know really well, which is like the WordPress custom sites that we've done. Yeah. And I've gotten comfortable with the fact that like, no, this is what I do. And I don't know React. And I don't know Angular. And that's all these other buzzwords. Yeah. And that's okay. Like as much as you want to be a jack of all trades, frankly, I think it's impossible in today's web development space because it's just, there's new stuff every year and some of it lasts and some of it doesn't. And my advice would just be to find what you're good at. Obviously, like there needs to be need for it. You need a demand side of that. But if you can find that and just focus on that and be happy with that, because I think there's a lot of feeling that you need to know everything else, and I don't think you do personally.
Yeah, there are so many platforms that people can build on, and I think people like us and our clients respect you because there are boundaries set on what you do and what you don't do. Yeah. Besides like our little asks, we're like, can you fix this? Or like, what are your thoughts on this? Sure. But you're always like WordPress custom. It's very black and white. Yeah. And there's no question marks around it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you're a company listening to this and thinking about hiring someone to do some work in this space, I think it's more important to find the person you like and the team you like than find the platform you like, because you're going to interact more with the people than the tool. So if you really trust someone and like someone and this is the way they do it, my recommendation is go with that way. Like I said, there's a million ways to do it, but there's not a million good people doing it.
That's very true.
I think we've tried to do a good job of that with our clients, is they trust us that we're going to use the tools we know and we like
and do right by them.
That's worked well. Yep.
Yeah. No matter what.
And be honest, if it's something beyond what we're not comfortable with, I mean, me specifically, I have no problem saying nope.
That's a bad idea. Nope, we don't know how to do that or whatever it is.
Or I'll just say I'm not the guy. I have no trouble saying that now, and maybe that comes with some time too. But early on, I might have said yes to everything because you want to get all the business. But now it's just like, no, you know what? I know if this one doesn't work out, the next one will, and it'll be something I actually know.
Yeah. Well, can you talk a little bit about how you got to being able to niche so much with your development experience and stuff? Because you really are like, I'm a WordPress custom developer. You do custom builds, all that good stuff, and it's WordPress only, and that's it. Can you talk a little bit about how you were able to get to that point?
I think the demand kind of just drove that for a while. At the first agency I was at, we were not WordPress. We used Drupal, which is a competitor, if you will, or a different option. Yeah. So when I left there, I knew Drupal really well, and I didn't really do much with WordPress. And once I got out of there, I realized that a lot of the size of business I was working for, which is most of the time a small to medium-sized company, they want WordPress because they've heard of it before, or they have someone on their team that's already used it, because I think it's the most popular CMS. Last time I looked, it was. I think it still is. So I figured, well, this is what they're asking for. This is what I'm going to learn. And that's just kind of stayed true. I think some clients will still ask for it specifically. Other clients will ask what I use. And like I kind of mentioned 3 minutes ago, like they'll trust what I use is good enough for what they need to do. Yeah. So and I think it's just been getting comfortable with the fact that I can turn down jobs that aren't my expertise or my preference. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question very well, but I think WordPress is unique maybe because a lot of people ask for it. Now, if I was like a really specific technology that was harder to find work, I might have a different take. And I might say, no, you need to know a few things because there's not enough of this, Yeah. But I think last I saw like 60% of websites on the internet are WordPress websites. So that's a pretty safe majority. And I think that's kind of been why I've focused on that.
Yeah. And I will say not all WordPress sites are built the same. I think that was there has been some websites that I got on the back end and I was like, this is a hot mess.
Yeah.
It's like, I appreciate Cameron
Yeah.
so much for what you do and how you organize things. And it's so clean and easy to understand on the back end, because other websites, this is a dumpster fire when you get there. And
for sure. Yeah. I still internally cringe just a tiny bit when I tell people I'm a WordPress developer, because I think a lot of people hear that and they think, oh, you're a dude that buys themes for $39 and slaps some text into them and calls yourself a developer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Chelsea, what you're kind of alluding to is the site that is just a hodgepodge of a bunch of junk. And I guess it's a do-it-yourself platform to some, and it's a professional platform to others. And because there's those do-it-yourselfers, there are WordPress sites in the world that are not good websites. But I think that could be said for most platforms.
Yeah.
So it can definitely be a powerful professional tool. A lot of developers that are trying to make it that way.
It's the beauty of it being open source.
Yep.
It's open to all types,
yep.
professional and amateur alike.
Yep. And you're going to get really good stuff out of that, and you're going to get some crap. And you just got to muddle through some of that and know not to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of boundaries, you don't do e-commerce websites, right? You don't want
always caution when we go into e-commerce that it's always more work. Even if you're selling one thing and say you're selling a t-shirt and you want to sell this one t-shirt on your website. That sounds very simple.
But it's actually 9 different products, because
suddenly the t-shirt has different colors and sizes. And oh, by the way, do you ship it or do they have to pick them up? Oh, they do both. Yes. And do you want to get paid via Stripe, or do you want to take credit cards or PayPal? Oh, you need all that. And then there's taxes you got to take depending on what state you're selling to and what countries you're selling to if you're international. And it just can become it's a big undertaking, even for a small store.
Yeah.
And that's why there's a heavy price tag typically on e-commerce websites.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just find that we end up answering a lot of business questions.
Yeah.
More so than just focusing on the website. Like, we're now suddenly helping you decide shipping logistics and all kinds of stuff that isn't really related to the website, but because you're now selling products on your website, you need to think about, and we have to guide you through that. So there's a cost.
That is so true. When Chelsea and I know that to be true, because we've run into that as well, because clients are like, who should we use for shipping? Creative agency.
What she meant to say is, we've been traumatized by that as well.
Yeah. We have PTSD also. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Questions come up that aren't our job to answer, but we end up answering or being asked to answer them. And that's tough. And I like building websites. I don't necessarily. The technical side of e-commerce maybe isn't all that hard, but the logistical side is the challenge.
Yeah. It's not really worth it, usually. It's
just depends.
Actually, usually what ends up happening is it is more cost effective for the client to just build it themselves on Shopify. Just make your own template, and then Shopify will easily walk you through all the steps. And it's just better if you go do it yourself.
I would totally agree. And I've done that. I mean, we've done that. We've pushed it to Shopify a lot. And most of the time that's more than enough for them. And then they get to answer all those questions themselves.
Yes. Because otherwise, I mean, we're going to charge you tens of thousands of dollars, because that's how much it is worth our time.
Well, I think we're getting to the wrapping up point, but is there any other tips, tricks, advice, motivation that you want to add before we close out?
Any last words, Cam?
Or do you want to thank your mom?
Or you could give your favorite DayCloud story.
Ooh.
Oh, I don't know if that's appropriate.
You can get as inappropriate as you want. I've said some really inappropriate things here. Yeah.
All right, cool. So my favorite DayCloud story.
Oh, no, now I'm nervous.
Zoo. You know which one I'm going for?
Oh, yes, I do. Oh, please.
So we're at the zoo with the DayCloud team, and Liz and Andrew's daughter is there. And
she's 4, okay?
She was, at the time, I think she was 4.
At the time, she was 4.
Yeah, and I don't even remember what exhibit it was, but some animals
the meerkat, or the meerkat. It was like groundhogs
and the meerkats were getting it on, and Liz's daughter said something like, what's that? And I don't remember who it was, but someone said, oh, they're just playing piggyback, I think.
Yeah.
And then without missing a beat, she goes, "Oh, my parents play piggyback all the time." And I just we all lost it. So that was yeah.
That's a good one.
That was a proud moment as a mother, I'm sure,
I'm
Liz.
so happy you picked that as your favorite memory because that one goes down in the books.
That was solid. Yeah. There was probably many others.
Liz was,
that was
so
recent.
embarrassed.
She was so embarrassed, and I'm still embarrassed. Oh my God. You just can't tell because I have so much makeup on.
That's good.
Oh, Cam. Yo, and you were standing right next to me, so you heard.
We all heard it. Even
and this
probably
is also after a couple drinks too.
Yeah.
Probably.
Oh God, my mommy and daddy play piggyback all the time.
Yeah, and she just the innocence of her first statement there.
She's like, "I'm good. Funny." Because everyone was
they're
dying.
all laughing at me.
Yeah, she's like, "That was a good one."
Yep.
So funny. Oh God, that girl. Good. Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good one to end on.
Yeah, I'll leave with that. I don't have any groundbreaking quotes and advice. I like the good story.
That was groundbreaking enough.
Yeah. Yep.
That was piggybacking enough for us.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, so good to have you, Cam. I love talking web development, but if you like this podcast and you like what we're talking about, like, share, follow, please share with your friends. Please leave us some feedback. We love to hear everything. We'll include Cameron's music videos in the show notes, and we will include his contact information and anything else that you guys would like to know about this episode. So, toodles.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.